Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi. the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. On We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening. It's good to be back in the studio right here in Jackson, Mississippi. You know, Jackson, Mississippi represents the birthplace for African Americans. African Americans that overcame every obstacle that was put against them and achieved and really did some magnificent and wonderful things all over this country, coming right out of Mississippi. So Mississippi is where the South will rise again. It's where the African American will finally take his rightful place at the leadership position in most things that we have in our community. Our city here in Jackson, Mississippi is 85% African American. And it's time now for African Americans to demonstrate to the world once and again, like we did during Reconstruction, that we have the know-how, we have the wherewithal, we have the ability to make the South rise again. Now, we're broadcasting live on Roku TV. You can find us on WeBelieveDigital.com. You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube. You can call in and advertise with us at 800-492-5186. We're also broadcasting live on Wmpr radio station, 100,000 watts of power, broadcast power, that's also African-American owned and controlled. So you see, world, the rest of you guys out there in New York City and Massachusetts and all of you folk that were stranded out there on I-95 that you're finally getting home, you know, tune in. Watch us here in Jackson, Mississippi, where the air is just a little bit cleaner and the grass is sometimes just a little bit greener. It's right here in Mississippi where the revolution will begin and where the opportunities will be so plentiful and so bountiful until everywhere you go, you're going to see clean communities, and you're going to see proud African-American business owners, and you're going to see families being put back together, because we're going to demonstrate how you do it right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, as always, you know, my guest tonight is a gentleman that has his own story. A gentleman that's world traveled, been around the world, has taught many things to others, and has taught me a few things along the way as well. Dr. Henderson, it's always good to have you in the studio, and welcome back on our first broadcast of 2022.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garrett. As you know, I'm proud to be here, and I just can't wait for the 11 months and 3 weeks to pass. 2022 will be one of the greatest years for the citizens of Mississippi.
So, Doc, why do you say that? I know that you're an optimistic person, but do you have some facts that are indicators? You said to me earlier that even though 2021 was bad, that you economically you did pretty good.
That's correct.
So how did you do that, and how do you carry that over to 2022?
Well, because I always believe, Mr. Garrett, that you must have a prioritized corrective action plan in 5 different areas of activity, and that's what I've been doing for years. You have to get your resources together and save and invest. Then you sell and buy more goods and services.
Save and invest.
That's right.
African Americans Save and invest. Now, Doc, you may be one of those individuals that are able to save and invest, but 40% of our folk are below the poverty line. What are they going to save and invest?
Well, they can save just like one that's above the poverty line.
Oh.
See, you can be on the minimum wage and you can own your own home. All your children can attend public school and graduate. And you can have a strong family structure. And if you use the 10-10-5-75 plan that I've been using for 30 years, you can manage your resources, and no matter what you have, you will not be economically insecure for very long. And that 10-10-5-75 plan is workable all over the world.
10-10-5-75 plan.
I call it the Hendersonistic Code of Financial Conduct. It works every time.
Wow. Wow, we're going to have to share that. I probably need to, get inside of your class and, take a look at that curriculum as well, because financially I'm not where I want to be.
Well, who is? You should be. You shouldn't ever be where you want to be financially. I told you 3 weeks ago, if you have $100 million, your goal ought to be able to get $150 million, then $200 or $300 million, and do this as long as you're alive.
Well, what about black folk who say that money is the root of all evil, and when I tell them that's my aspiration and goal, they look at me and think that I'm some kind of an outcast?
Well, it's because they've been brainwashed by the preachers and some of their relatives. I've been telling people for years in my workshops and seminars, the root of all evil is poverty, lack of money, lack of morals. And you shouldn't go around condemning one because he or she gets a lot of economic resources, because it's a sin to be broke in a capitalistic society.
One of my friends said to me, the best way to help the poor is not to be one.
That's
so
exactly
that you
right.
won't be using up all of the resources that's there for them. Best way to help the homeless, first of all, is not to be homeless. Get yourself out of that line, and then maybe you'll be in a position where you can try and help somebody else.
Well, now, I don't agree with that, but a lot of people do. I was taught that through my church leadership when in the 1950s and early 60s, where the preachers would say, the Lord will bless you if you're poor. There's nothing wrong with being poor. The Bible says the poor would be with us always. And when I would hear that propaganda, I would always say, if I have to live by that biblical principle, I'm not going to do it.
Why must the poor be with us always? Are you saying that we can do without the poor in the capitalistic society? Don't we have to have poor people, and we have to have workers and folk that are not doing well in order for capitalism to work?
Well, you do, but see, there are different type of poor people. You have the poor, and the poor.
Okay.
Then you have the middle class, and that's the lower middle class, the middle class, and the upper middle class, and then the rich. So the poor, the PO, will be that group will live with you from birth to death. A poor man, that's called poor now, the PO, you can give him or her $10,000 a week, and they will be broke at the end of every 7 days.
Why is that?
Because they don't know through their culture and their training and their observations that you don't have to spend everything you get and not retain any. You don't have to give it away. You have to learn to save. But poor people, PO people, have not been trained, and when they get something, they spend it immediately, and it's usually on something that they don't need.
Wow.
Jewelry. Vacation. New cars.
Got to have a new car.
Got to have a new car. I used to see that all the time down.
When my relatives would come from Chicago, they would always be driving long Cadillacs and Lincolns and town cars, and I thought they were doing so well. I was a little country boy down in Farm Haven, Mississippi, and I couldn't wait for them to get here from Gary and Chicago. Later in life, I learned that most of them were leasing the cars.
Exactly.
Just to come home in.
You should see those jokers that used to come down to Boat in Mississippi in those nice cars and those nice suits. And they would tell that lie and say, oh, I tell you, I just love all this good country vegetable. So they would go to the smokehouse and get hams out of the smokehouse, put in the car, beans, and kill a few chickens. And you know that you had to take your food with you back in those days when I was a young man.
Why is that?
You couldn't stop at a hotel or place like that to buy food unless you were in the Chitlin circuit. Black folks couldn't, right?
Black folks had to take their food on their trips back to Chicago?
That's right.
Because they couldn't stop at the restaurant?
No, they couldn't.
Wow.
Unless they were in a black area. For instance, go through Jackson, you could run through Ferris Street. But if you didn't know about that, you had to take your own chicken or whatever you had, your biscuit sandwiches, and eat on the side of the road. And that's the way a lot of them worked during that period.
Wow.
And some people decided that wasn't the way to go, and you know that story.
Wow.
And now it's getting back to that position economically where even though you can eat anywhere you want now in America, but you can't afford to do it. So you can see the old cycle is reversing back to the 1940s and 50s in America and in the world.
Well, it's reversing because the black male is failing. His race and his position is not being stabilized and is not fulfilling the requirements. So one of the things that I want to say in 2022 is that, I'm not really going to focus too much on the white man in 2022. All of the atrocities that we talk about, all of the things that you just said that, you had to take your own chicken back to Chicago. Well, right now you can fly. You don't have to carry your own chicken anymore. And so I'm not going to deal with him too much in 2022, but I am going to deal with some things that are going to make our race better and going to improve our positions.
What are those things?
Well, first of all, we got to change our leadership. Doc, I believe that 2022 is the year of the black woman.
It is.
I think we got to empower the black woman. I think we got to set the black male down. When people are not scoring for you, when they're not, the team is not performing well, you're 0-11, you got to make some changes.
Have to do it. Now, let me tell you, I've been teaching this for the last 15 years. See, the good news is that a lot of people like to overlook. The females in America, I'm talking about the black females, they have more education than the average black man. They take care of the children, even though some of them do a very poor job, but they're doing better than that absentee father. They have great leadership skills because they can raise those 3 or 4 kids that have no father, have 2 jobs, and know how to maneuver, have another 2 or 3 children, never get married, and all the people eat every day one way or the other.
Wow.
And that's why they need to be in the political positions, because they outvote the males, and they will do better than the average black politician I know, because they know how to form coalitions. They are very sensitive when it comes to social issues, and they will resolve most of the negative problems we have. Many of them know how to stretch a dollar 100 ways, so they are good at budgeting. And many know how to prioritize their resources to the point where they keep everybody fed, have clothing for everyone. Those that want to will go to school, might not do well academically, but they can do that at least until that child gets 13 to 16.
Well,
then he's going to go astray.
It was said a long time ago that when you educate a man, you educate a man. Mm-hmm. But when you educate a woman, you educate the entire family.
That's exactly right. That's why we need more female politicians. And I cannot see why these female politicians won't get together in their community organizations. They are better structured than the male, and they ought to decide we're going to pool our resources. We're going to select and train females for all the positions where we're in the majority in every state, every county, and every city, and take over those positions. That's what they're going to have to do.
Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I just have a question, and what I'm trying to find out, I'm a young man in my 40s, but if you had to tell me what's my responsibility to those that's coming up behind me, what would that advice be?
Well, caller, I tell you, you have a tremendous responsibility for those that are coming behind you. You know, it's critically important that you make their foundation right. And their foundation is to make sure that they are in a safe place, that they have an environment where their basic needs are taken care of as a provider. And caller, there's some other things I want to share with you, but I need you to hold the line to right after this commercial break.
Okay.
We're going to go to a commercial break. WeBelieveDigital.com. Stay tuned.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now. Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
Thanks for holding, caller. I really wanted to continue this dialogue because there is a specific responsibility that you have, and that you have to create that environment. You know, as a boy, I thought that my daddy hung the stars and the moon when I walked outside. I thought that he was responsible for that. As a boy, I tried to jump in his footsteps and follow him around, and it was a little boy. I could hardly jump to his footsteps, and as the older I got, the further apart his footsteps got, and it got even more and more difficult to follow in his footsteps. So you have a tremendous burden and a tremendous responsibility. But I'm going to ask my co-host, Dr. Henderson, if he would chime in and respond to the caller's question.
Okay, caller, this is what I want you to consider. You just said you were about 40 years of age. Will you answer a few questions for me? Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children that you have custody of? Do you all have regular family meetings? Once a week at least? Once a week at least. Yes. Do you have stepchildren?
Yes.
Have you been married more than 2 or 3 times?
Yes.
Okay. You have a burden to bear, young man, but what you're going to have to do then, you're going to have to get all those stepchildren, adopt them, give them your last name, look at them just like they are your blood children, put them all on the family plan. If their father, who is not in the house, is not doing his job, you get with him and your wife and get full custody of that child, full custody, and tell that father you do not want anything from him. And if he insists, you tell him to put a plan together and put some money in the bank on a regular basis for his child when he gets 18 or older. And you raise that child under your name, and you have a better family structure.
Caller, thank you for calling. We hope that some of those points will hit home for you and that you can implement some of them.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I know it's tough, caller, but you have to do that.
Yeah.
Unification, unify that family.
Continue listening, caller. So, the caller makes valid point, and you make valid point. You don't want the male sending any money into the household until the child is 18. I find that a bit odd. Why is that?
Well, because the father or the mother that's paying child support should legally expect to have some input in the household and help manage and discipline the child. Many times, it's totally destruction what they bring forth, and you just wouldn't do that if you're smart. change the names of all those kids, use the father's name, and let the father and mother that's paying child support set up an education fund or whatever you want to do and give that child that money when he or she turns 18.
Great advice. It cut out a lot of confusion
I
in the
guarantee.
house. And no doubt about that. So we were talking about 2022, and we were talking about empowering the black female. And the black female is critically important to sustaining us, to taking us to the next level. The black male has failed us.
He has failed.
He just has failed us.
Exactly.
Doc.
Now let me tell you what.
And it breaks my heart because I'm an alpha male and I hold up for men. You know, my kids think I'm a chauvinist of some sort. But the black male has failed us up to this point, and we got to make a change. Now, we can't go back to the white man. You know, I don't want to talk about nothing he did in the past, but we can't go back to him. So we have no other option but to turn to the black female and hope that she can save us.
Look at the facts. Go to any high school and look at the majority of the students that's in the 10th through the 12th grade. Go to any community college in the United States and see,
Hold on, caller.
see who the black females are, numbers-wise, at the community college. Go to the senior colleges in the United States and look at the number of black females versus the males.
Hold on your point there. Caller, you're on the line.
Yes. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good.
Yeah, I'm listening to you guys, and all I hear is you guys kind of trying to tear down the black male. Okay. The black female is in all these positions that you're talking about right now. Yet still we got 253 murders in this city, or 153, whatever you want to call it. And most of the black females are in control of the households in Jackson, Mississippi. They're in control of the school system and all that. Matter of fact, the vice president of the United States is a female.
Caller, let me ask you a question. What role has the black male played in getting us to the position we're in today?
What role has the black male played in this position?
To getting us to where we are today.
First of all, the black male hated by other black men. Look what's going on down at the Hines County Board of Supervisors. You got black males fighting against other black males. And somebody right in the equation. So the problem is that you have a lot of black people that do not like other black people. You got black females that don't like black females. You got black males that don't like black males. You got some black people think they bougie and look down on other black folks and things of that nature. So to put the black female in control of the black race got to be the dumbest thing ever said in the world. You go ask any other race and see how their females in control.
Okay.
No, they're not.
All right, caller. We appreciate you.
Y'all ought to be ashamed of y'all selves.
Caller.
Evidently, y'all senile or something.
Caller.
Y'all must be senile. You got too old.
Okay. We gotta let caller.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller. We're going to advise you to hang up and call back next week. Thank you very much.
So you know, he's passionate about the black male and his position, and I, as again, you know, I have fought for the black male. I have fought every step of the way to try and provide leadership and try to unite us and bring us together. But we just haven't gotten it done, Doc. And so there's got to be a new plan.
Well, that's why I told you have to look at the females and the responsibilities they have. I mentioned the high schools, the community colleges, and the senior colleges with the majority of black females there, and they are in these leadership positions. The higher the educational sphere, the fewer black males you have. So the females at these colleges and universities, the black ones especially, are in leadership positions, and they are making decisions. They are trained, but with the system that's set up, there's just so much they can do in the corporate world because they're not going to get beyond a lower level vice president in personnel or something like that. But if they were in politics, you'll see some significant changes in the structures and the allocation of resources in the black communities, north, south, east, and west.
Wow. And we just remind our viewing and listening audience, you can call in at 800-492-5186. That's 800-492-5186. And we just remind our viewers that we're at a situation, we're in a crisis mode, that our communities are suffering. We got to do something. The caller didn't think that empowering the female was the right thing. But we got to do something, because if we don't solve this immediately, I'm saying immediately, then our citizens are going to turn to non-blacks for leaderships. And I remind our audience and our viewers all across this country that, it was no freak accident that Memphis went to a black mayor, that Leland went to a white mayor in Memphis, Tennessee, predominantly black. They went to a white mayor in Meridian, replacing a black mayor there. Went to a white mayor in Hattiesburg, replacing a long-term black mayor there. Went to a white mayor up in Mount Bayou, in Leland, and the list goes on, Greenville. And they went to white folk because they're seeking leadership, somebody that can make a change in the community. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see us revert back to being dependent upon the same people that put us in the positions that we're in today. So we can't turn back to white folk for our leadership. Just like we lost our children in integration, we cannot go back that way, Doc.
Okay, well, you're right about that, but let me tell you why you can and should be concerned about it. Who were in those positions before they had that first black male, a white male? Who were the supervisors, white supervisors? But through this so-called fake integration and all these so-called civil rights and minority rights, all this talk about equity and so forth, the white male was almost forced to get out of those responsibilities because he was doing what he was taught to do. He was taught the system called racism, which is his religion, white supremacy racism. His job is to keep himself in positions of responsibility and keep others out. So when the civil rights courts and others, local state laws, got on the white man and said, you've been discriminating against the blacks too long, you won't allow them to vote, they loosen up the voting rolls, and then they got some positions. And the white man said, just like they said during Reconstruction, I've worked with them for years, you can hear them talking, and you have to act like you don't hear them talking. They would say, now we're going to let these black folks get in these positions of so-called responsibility, and we're going to cut them down after a few years. You move the resources away from them and keep those people from being in a position to make some positive changes.
Hold on, Doc. Caller, you're on the line. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Cameron T. Ward, and I stay here in Jackson, Mississippi, and I'm listening to y'all on the air. That me and my friends, we are trying to come up with something to help the community, because these people and these animals need help. They cannot just live along all themselves, and they best all these old hotels out here, they ain't hardly got no customers. I would think it'd be a best they can make rules for homeless people to live there, and we make up something new that help us, like using the herbal medicine, healing up the people, and get their mind together and help them get on their feet. And we need to have a talk with people about who over family members with disability check, and you got the family out here suffering and everything. I ain't giving them no money, but at least someone be out here do help them. And we try, because the only thing how things gonna make a change for the community, we do what Christ say do. You just can't say the word out your own mouth. Follow the Bible and the history, because that's what I'm doing, and wake everyone up.
Thank you so much, caller, for that those comments. Doc?
Well, caller, I want to tell you, there is no money problem in Mississippi. There is no financial problems in the nation's throughout the nation, the states.
It is a money
listen to me
problem.
now, listen to me, let me finish it. There is no money problem throughout Europe. The problem, young lady, is allocated. It's not allocated to where the needs are. To give you an example, I heard the governor of the state of Mississippi, the House leader, Mr. Gunn, and the vice president talking on several occasions throughout the last 30 days, saying basically that they have so much money they don't even know what to do with it. They haven't even allocated it yet. So what you have to do, young lady, you have to get with those same friends you were talking about, put a proposal together. You don't have to scrape and try to get some money to buy an old regular hotel. Go to the governor, go to the House leaders, go to the lieutenant governor with a proposal, sign a petition with 300 or 400 people and say, this is what I want in my community.
Caller, thanks for calling. We got to go to a commercial, but thank you for calling in. Stay tuned. We're going to a commercial break in about 5 seconds. You can reach us at 800-492-5186. Stay tuned.
COVID's pioneering coronavirus protocol firm, S2-E COVID Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let S2-E COVID Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art biorisk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs. Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the WeBelieve.global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at WeBelieve.global.
We're back, and you know, we're going to continue the conversation and the dialogue. We got to come up with a leadership strategy, and that's what we've been talking about. Hold on a second. We have a caller, Doc.
Yes. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. I thank y'all for taking my phone call. I thank y'all for putting out that very important message. Look, I just like to say about me being a black male, 55 years old, the black males are falling short. I'm a man being called on by God. I'm trying to go back in the church and educate them on the word of God. Maybe I can get them to stand up and do what they're supposed to do. But I heard Mr. Henderson say about writing a proposal. What do you think I need to write a proposal to get some money to do some things in my area?
You said what you need to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's very simple. This is the step, various steps you need to follow. First, you have to find out who controls the money that's in Mississippi. The governor, the lieutenant governor, the House leader, the supervisors, the mayor. Find out what categories they have money to spend in. You get with their teams, their personnel people, their accountants, their program people, and find out who you need to write a proposal to and request certain monies, saying you need to address certain problems in the community, tell them how many people you're going to serve, tell them the beginning and end date of the program you have, put a monetary figure to it, $2 or $3 million. Let you show them you have good trained people to execute that program. Put their training resumes in that proposal, and then go to them with a petition signed by 200 or 300 people saying that you need this program. We call this letters of support. Get some letters of support from the banker, the insurance companies that you are spending all your money with, the chairman of the car dealership, and on and on and on, and go to these folks and call a press conference and announce this is what we're going to be talking to the governor about and the lieutenant governor next week. That's the way you do it. You don't pray over it. Do not pray over it. Do it.
Caller, we appreciate your call. We have other callers. We'll talk with you later. So, Caller, you're on the line. Go ahead.
Hello, guys. This is Benny Foster. I had the honor and pleasure of being on the report last night, and I just want to call in and commend you guys for having this courageous conversation. More conversations like this need to be had without people getting upset about everyone's opinion. And we need to just reach a resolve and find a compromise where we all can unify and work together and become that tribal community that the young need. We can't essentially throw them away, but we can teach them and show them how to earn and learn in the community and how to step in their rightful position. I just wanted to call in and make that.
Thank you so much, caller, for your comments.
Most certainly.
Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Okay, 3 quick things. One, when it comes to how do we gain control and get the community back to where it should be, part of the problem is, everybody loves to jump in on presidential debate, and presidential elections. But how many of the citizens, especially here in Jackson, can even name their representative and name, who the lieutenant governor is? How many people actually voted when it comes to like mayor, judges in our district, the actual people who really impact and affect our day-to-day lives? You can even take it lower than that. How many of the parents of these kids in public schools can even tell you who the principal is, the superintendent, the state superintendent? The thing is, we're caught up in a lot of things that really, I'm not going to say don't matter, but don't directly impact us. If we would take care of the things here, it's not a male versus female, because if you look at it, the past few mayors we had have not really done what they should, have not lived up to their promises. The thing is, you got to stop voting on familiarity and friends. You got to look at platforms. Stop looking at political parties and look at platforms. We have to really, break down this Democrat versus Republican thing. Who has our best interest at heart? Not what your mama, daddy, and grandmama, who they told you to vote for, or how they live. You got to look at, because time to change. It's actually going to help us. And the thing is, we have to be able to help ourselves, because our grandparents and great-grandparents, they didn't have, all the political backing. They didn't get to vote, but at the same time, the community took care of itself and took care of each other. They live in a community, a nice community that, you might be a plumber, you might be a gardener, you might be a mechanic. We shared, we, bartered and traded. Those kind of things, the basic necessities is what we're going to have to get back to. Stop looking for handouts. Stop looking for some great white hope, great male hope, great female hope. Stop looking for somebody to come save us. We got to put the groundwork in ourselves. It starts at home. Before you get anywhere else, it's going to start at home. Schooling, point blank period. The teachers are not doing everything I'm not saying it's on the teacher, but how many parents go through book bags? How many parents go through PTA meetings? How many parents actually do follow-up with, homework and different things like that? Then, don't beat into a child's head. You have to go to college and be this, that, and the third. Children can learn trades. Trades are coming back. Trades are what's going to be the next wave, because all those boomers are dying out. We're going to have somebody to do those plumbing, roofing, all those kind of things. So the thing is, we got to break away from the norm. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Stop worrying about what everybody is saying. We take care of home first, and then come together as a community. One house get itself together, 2 houses, a street, a neighborhood. We have to take it back, if that makes sense. Start groundwork, ground level, and work our way up to bigger fish. You know what I'm saying? Catch a little fish in your pond first before you go out there in the deep water.
Thank you so much, caller, for those comments. Go ahead.
Caller, you just saw the problem. You don't know it, but you can be one of the best leaders in your community just by doing what you said. So starting at the next election, about 6 months before the next election, you need to get together with 100 people that you know and go and sign up and run for office in your community as a county supervisor, an alderman, or a mayor, or whatever you want to do. Run as an independent. Register all the new voters you can that's finishing high school, those that have already enrolled in the voting list and not voting. You contact those folks and be an independent, and you'll win and do those things you just said, and your community will start changing in 30, 60, or 90 days. You're the new leader. You can't depend on anybody else. And the last thing I want to tell you, caller, you have to use what you have where you are right now. You can't wait. and you have the remedy to all the problems that you address, and you ought to run for public office yourself.
Thank you so much, caller, for calling. Now, we're going to have to keep hammering here. We've got to find a solution. And all this is about finding a solution. I mean, we defined the problem all in 2021. We understand how devastated our community is, that we're tremendously a povertized community. 40% of the folk in Jackson, Mississippi live below the poverty line. Mississippi is the poorest state in the nation. We understand the hellhole that we're in and how we're trying to get out of it. But 2022 is about those solutions. And so what we're trying to say to you callers and viewers is that we got to have an actionable plan. Now, maybe it's going to females for leadership. Try that. Maybe it is to do as the caller says, start rebuilding it one door, one house, one street at a time. Maybe we got to empower our ministers more, and the church got to do more. But somehow we got to come up with a strategy that our community buys into. It's no good to have a strategy that nobody buys into. We got to have a strategy, and then we got to implement that to make changes in our community. Caller, you're on the air.
Oh, yeah, I just want to leave one last thing.
Go
Big
ahead.
Brothers, Big Sisters. I know that program has faded out, but so many of us who have our own black businesses, and I'm not just trying to get a black or white thing, but those who have our own black business, every third Saturday of the month, I invite the neighborhood kids over to my home to, work on my cars. I show them how to get into that. These guys who have the landscaping business, car wash business, so many food trucks, restaurants, whatever it is. If we give these children something to do, something to inspire to be, and show them that, it's not that hard with hard work and dedication, they won't have to look for selling dope. They won't have to look towards the failed rap industry or buy it until the black man has to be an athlete to get out the hood. No, you don't. It's so many other things to offer, but we have to come together with like minds, maybe a sit-down luncheon with, not saying you have to be millionaires, that you can make $40,000 a year. But if you have your own thing, if you show the next man how to do it, that man shows the next man how to do it. Like I said, get these kids together, give them something to inspire to be. Show them that, somebody from the hood made it with a real 9-to-5, a blue-collar job, and that blue-collar job brought in income, supporting the family. You didn't need welfare. You didn't need government assistance, but you actually, blood, sweat, and tears, put money in your pocket and food on the table. If they see that there's actually something that they can do with their own hands, something that's within reach, something that's not so far away that they have to, go in debt in college to do, it's right there, it's ready, it's available, but we just have to have the willing participants, both men and women. Because guess what? I got a sister that can work on a car just like my brothers can. So it's not a gender line anymore. Anybody can do anything they put their mind to. We just have to have the willing adults who will sacrifice the time to make sure that the next generation has something. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, caller.
I want to address this caller. Caller, are you still on the line? Okay, he is gone.
Yeah.
But I know you can hear it. Again, caller, you can solve this problem. I'm just going to ask you. You don't have to call back and say yes or no. Now, I know you live in a community somewhere, probably in Mississippi or somewhere in these states, and you are saying that they need to start working in different areas because they can make enough money to do it. All you have to do, if you're a church member, you go to your church, do a survey of all the business leaders in your church, and assign 2 or 3 young people in that church to work OJT, on-the-job training, with the 10 or 15 black businessmen and women in your church. Set goals and objectives for those young people to learn certain things, and you will find your community rising, rising, rising. And suppose your other friends would do the same in their communities. You then can put a corporation together or an organization, and you can learn to elevate those young people, teach some bricklaying, some air conditioning, some heating, some administrative responsibility, some how to go and monitor meetings, civic meetings, learn leadership skills, and those are the people that you won't have to get out of jail. Those are the young people that are already trained, and you could get them in a position where they can run for public office and get rid of some of these stale and worthless elected and appointed officials that are there for monetary gain. Now, I could go on, but I don't have but an hour, and we're not going to do it. So you can solve your own problem wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot expect the court, preacher corps, the court, elected officials and appointed ones to do very much for you. They've had 30 years to do it, and some of them been in office 30 years. That's what I have to say about that right now.
Doc, appreciate that. We are broadcasting live from our own broadcast studio right here in Jackson, Mississippi, African American owned and operated. We're partnering with WMPR radio station, 100,000 watts of broadcast power, another African American owned and operated media outlet. You can find us on Facebook at We Believe Digital. You can find us on YouTube at We Believe Digital. You can find us on Roku TV at We Believe Global. Call us at 800-492-5186. Option number 1 for advertising, 492-5186 is our call-in number to make a comment on the show. We're going to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
We're back, and again, we're broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in our own African-American owned broadcast studio. We have partnering relationships with WMPR radio station, 100,000 watts of broadcast power. We're trying to get the word out. We're trying to share intelligent, articulate conversations with our viewers all over the world. Hold on a second. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hey.
My name is...
We lost you, caller.
Just call back, caller, please.
Hello?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay. I was saying that I do agree with you all about putting more responsibility onto the women. But I also feel like the caller that called in probably about 20 minutes ago, and he was kind of screaming and hollering, saying that you all are senile and all of this type of stuff. I think that is one of the reasons why so many men are removed out of the household now, because of the anger that they have and the anger that they show. It's okay to disagree with someone. If you don't agree that women are, the way to go, that's fine. Because truly, I feel like when women and men have failed the children. We have so many young mothers out here who don't know how to raise kids because they're kids. And, they don't know what to do for them. They don't have the fathers in the household because the fathers are children in their house.
Caller, you're breaking up on us, but we really appreciate your comments, and call back when you get a better connection.
Oh.
But caller, if you're there, can you hear us? Call back when you get a better connection. So,
okay, I can hear you.
To our viewing audience out there, we're trying to find a solution. We're trying to find a breakaway. We're trying to find a pattern, a strategy that our community can implement that moves the community forward. That's what we need. Doc, you said we have less than 9 years
We most certainly do.
To solve this problem. And why do you say that?
Well, I've been teaching this for at least 15 years. Black folks have certain areas of activity that they must control from birth to death in the next 9 years, or they will be totally considered as a permanent outcast and a member of a permanent underclass in America. Because I told you last week, and I've been telling people for 15 years, black people now are down in the economic chain and the political chain down to number 6 in the pecking order of economics, education, religious, leadership.
Who are the first 5 then?
The first 5 in this order. Research will prove it. European Americans are white folks, number 1. Asians, number 2. Arabs, number 3. I'm talking about political and economic sphere of influence. Hispanics, number 4. Native Americans, number 5. And black folks, number 6 in the economic and pecking order in America.
Did we used to be number 2?
We used to be number 2.
And now we're number 6.
We're number 6. Economically and politically. Just because, ladies and gentlemen, you have a lot of black folks in political power, they cannot do very much in a city or a county that's broke economically, where all the people have moved, where the big jobs have moved to the suburbs. And this is why you're going to have these same areas regentrified. And I've been teaching this for 15 years. These inner cities are going to change in less than 9 years, and the poor folks that's in the inner city going to be excluded, and you're going to be put down into the reservation part in the inner city, what you're going to be called locked in, and in the rural areas, and you're not going to be able to be living in those high-rises, in those new homes, on those nice streets, because you're not going to be able to afford it. And that's your destiny, ladies and gentlemen.
And Doc, and what you're saying carries so much weight. Recently, we lost a young lady's life in the Delta. You're from the Delta.
And lived there for a while.
And they were unable to get to a doctor. Took over an hour to get to a doctor because there's no hospital there to serve that community. And as you become lower and lower in value and importance and fall in the pecking order of things, then your quality of life and your life expectancy shifts dramatically.
Exactly. Now, that's why I tell you that money is no problem. The governor and the lieutenant governor and the legislature can change this hospital situation in less than 30 days. They have hospitals, small rural hospitals, that are closing almost every 2 or 3 weeks in the state of Mississippi. They lost about 25 here in the last few years. All they have to do is refund those hospitals, start new training programs in the healthcare industry, get more doctors, more nurses, more EMTs and others, put them in these fast-track programs, and you'll find that that create jobs in the Delta, in the inner city and other areas. So these are man-made problems that can be solved by man.
Wow.
All of them.
We're seeking solutions, viewers all over the world. We appreciate you chiming in because we got to do something in the African-American community. We have reached an all-time low, and the quality of life and our economic survival is dependent upon it. And yet, during the same period of time, we have more African-American elected officials than we've ever had before. We're poor, quality of life has been lessened, and we have more political power than we've ever had before. So getting political power is not the solution. Let me say that again. Acquiring political power is not the solution, because as we acquire more and more political power, we seem to lose more and more economic power in the communities in which we control. So we got to look inside of that, and it's a leadership problem. It's the right people in the right place at the right time that will do the right thing. There will not be no bickering and arguing and fussing and fighting, but it would be a cohesive strategy designed to move up all African Americans. Won't be haters and so much self-hate and dissension that black males have brought into this environment, in the political environment. You see, high crime in our communities is an economic issue and a poverty issue. People are fighting now over less than they would have fought over 5 to 10 years ago because they have less to give, less room to maneuver. And so crime under the community is at an all-time high. Jackson had over 150 murders in the city last year. But the murders that we had from an economic standpoint cannot be even told. More businesses were lost. Lack of opportunity was lost. And so we're getting hit from all fronts. So what are we going to do? We're going to find a solution to this, and we're going to implement the right strategies and put the right people in place. Doc, I believe that leadership is the key, whether we get that from the female, or whether we get that from our pastors, or whether we get that from Asians who are really high in the pecking order, or whether we get that from Indians. I'm talking about the ones with the dot, not the feather. I don't care where we get it from. I didn't name the white man. I don't think we can get it from him because, Lord have mercy, I'm old enough to know where we came from and how we were treated there. You come out of the Delta, so you understand. But we got to get it from somewhere, Doc. So,
well, one way to do it is to form cooperatives with certain people that have resources, and you can maintain some control if you do that. That's why I told you people have to be smart enough to start forming coalitions and stop worrying too much about political parties and run as an independent and pool your resources with others. All you need to do is get 51% of the vote, and you can be more effective than running as a Democrat or Republican and losing.
Doc, are you advocating that African Americans should abandon the Democratic Party?
Of course.
Of course.
They ought to abandon the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and then run as independents in certain positions. And if they find they can't win that way, they have to get with a Republican or a Democrat and pool their resources and their vote and put this person on a timeline, create an agenda, and say, this is what we will support you if you follow these rules. This is what we need in the community. Then it doesn't make any difference whether the person is a Democrat or Republican.
Will there ever come a time when blacks and poor whites can come together?
Never, never. Because whites have been trained. Their Bible is white supremacy. The mothers taught it to them. I've been teaching this for years. Their daddies and grandparents taught it to them. And they say, I cannot work with a black person because I am superior to him or her. And even if I'm worse off than economically than they are, I'm still better. I can't work with them.
Wow. I'll remind our viewers that Chris Rock once said that there is not a white man in America that would trade places with him. And he said, and I'm awfully rich. But there's not one white man that would trade places with me as an African American in this country. It's been a great show, Doc. We're going to start to sign off. To our viewers out there, we appreciate your call-ins. Next week, you can reach us at 800-492-5186. We're on Roku TV or our own platform, Wmpr radio station. We're doing all that we can do. Until next week, we're saying good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. On We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online